Joseph. Okay. Nana, we're good? Okay. Awesome. All right, great. So, Lavette Jallo, are you on with us? Okay, so I'm going to give her time to join. I just want to ask a very clear question. Now, this was a comment, actually. This was a reaction based on a comment that we posted previously. The comment was, Black is beautiful, but is this really true? Are light-skinned biracial women seen as more beautiful? And Devin says, hey, BBC, it's very clear that even to your eyes, light-skinned women are more appealing to the eye. It's not explainable. It's just the way it is. So I want to ask Lavette Jallo, who has now joined us all the way from Sweden, what do you think about that comment, Lavette? And please introduce yourself again for those that are watching. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name is Lavette Jallo. I am an author, an activist and an educator here in Sweden, mainly focusing on issues that affect Black women, but also dealing with other cultures and ethnicities as well. So I didn't hear the question, the comment, because I joined in during that time. So if you could repeat that, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you so much, Lavette. So Lavette, the question is, Black is beautiful, but is this really true? Are light-skinned biracial women seen as more beautiful?
The answer to that is biracial women in particular.
And then we had a reaction from Devin from Kenya.
I think there's a slight delay.
Who agrees?
Yeah.
So you can go ahead.
I think biracial women, because most of them have naturally lighter skin tone, it's not really that they're more beautiful, because all shades are beautiful. There's no one that is better than the other. It's just different. I think because when magazines, when TV, when media, and mainly white media, picks an idea of Black beauty, they will always pick somebody who is closer to their sort of standard of beauty than look at somebody like Lupita and pick her as a different type of beauty. So in that case, I do have to say that it's not really that light-skinned women are better or more beautiful. It's just that they're often chosen to portray Black women. And that is just the way it is right now in media. So that affects why men may think they are more beautiful.
And I totally...
Go ahead.
And I... No, go ahead. Finish your sentence.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say, that it's not really that we feel that way, it's just that media tells us that that's what it is. On the bleaching billboards, you will see the darkest woman in the back, and they'll show you how by lightening her skin, she's becoming closer to white norm and thus being more beautiful. That's the psychological colonization of the mind.
Thank you so much, Lavette. So for those of us here, what Lavette is explaining is what many people are going through. What she's saying is that the media, commercials, etc., is constantly reinstalling in our heads that lighter, fairer women are more beautiful. Women of European ancestry are more beautiful. And I know, Dr. May, you mentioned your own personal journey. Could you share with us your, I guess, enlightening on what took you to this point in advocating for self-love and care?
Yeah, so for me, my background has been pageantry, and before I got into pageantry, I thought I was fine. I never felt like there was anything wrong with me until I got into pageantry, and then you start to compete with other girls, and you have to begin to look into your height, your weight, your skin, all these things, and you would imagine that being in beauty pageant or winning a pageant makes you feel better. But sometimes it also makes you realize all the things that are flawed and in your body. So it makes you realize that you're not skinny enough or you're not pretty enough, which is kind of an irony because people think she won a pageant. That should affirm that she's beautiful, but on the contrary, you kind of feel a little bit not pretty enough. And for me as well, after being a beauty queen, trying to find the right skincare, trying to make sure that I maintain a beautiful skin, to look more beautiful, meant that I have to look for ways to do that. And I started to realize that we didn't have affordable quality skincare in Nigeria, that it's not a bleaching cream, and I started to look into it. Obviously, because of my career, I didn't really look into it as quick enough. But when I did, which was 3 years ago, I decided to make sure that every girl in Nigeria, not just in Nigeria, but any girl that should be able to afford quality skincare that is natural. And for me, I've been trying to work on that, and we are still growing. But in doing that, it became clear to me that I wasn't the only one that had the issue of trying to get flawless skin, but also our customers also wanted flawless skin. And for them, flawless skin, some of them, not all of them, flawless skin meant having lighter skin. For some of them, flawless skin meant just really maintaining what they have. But there isn't much out there in terms of maintaining what you have, except the odd coconut oil and shea butter. And Black girls, especially dark-skinned girls, want something really special for their skin. And for that, that's what I feel like my skincare products do, cater for not just dark-skinned girls, but anybody who is interested in maintaining their skin color. But beyond that is also to make people comfortable in their own skin. And I think that for me, bleaching is not, I don't think that most Nigerian girls or African girls or dark-skinned girls in general are interested in becoming European. I don't think so. I think that they want to have flawless skin. Unfortunately, 90% of what we find in the market is for whitening, whitening skin, whitening creams, unfortunately. And what do you do when majority of skincare does not look at you as a standard? If you can't beat them, you join them. Some girls just use them for a short period and then they stop. But that doesn't still help them sustain their skin. So it's also a lack of, there's no supply for quality skincare that actually promotes dark skin, and there's more demand for lighter skin. And like I also said in my video, what we see out there beyond the media, unfortunately today, media is no more just the BBC and Sky News or anybody. It's not just mainstream media. It's now everybody. Anyone can tell you anything, anywhere. And so when you go on Instagram, you see light-skinned girls. And that's what we like. You see the engagement they get, and you feel like that is actually what you should go for. And people will point and say, oh, I want that, I want that. And we just recently had an ad with different shades of skin, and you see people pointing at the light skin model as, I want color 1, I want color 2 and all that, but I'm quite positive that we are actually heading the right direction, and programs like this, I believe, would get us closer to where we are, especially with our natural hair sisters.
I know. I would say that natural hair is definitely a whole nother topic altogether. For those of you guys that are joining us, we are BBC Africa Girl Talk. This is a live discussion, and we're talking about beauty standards. We're talking about the beauty standards in Africa. What are the standards for women of color? What does society place on us? For those of us that want to know why we're gathered here. So I just want to ask you, Dr. Uju, you are someone who, as a doctor and a dermatologist, you're someone who deals with clients. How is it for you working in Lagos, Nigeria? What are some of the desires that your clients or prospective clients want?
I'd say I always knew people wanted to have light skin. So I came into the area sort of, I'm a dark skin person. Hopefully people in my office are dark skin, but let's sort of push healthy skin and show that you can get a glow and still be dark. So I had that mindset initially, but then it got to a stage where people were asking me, my baby is looking dark, or my 2-year-old is suddenly getting dark. And I just got tired. I felt like it was so overwhelming. And I think, I don't know if it's because I'm dark skinned, but they would always come and say, so usually I see cases like acne, pigmentation problems, and they'd come and, you know, I'd put you on prescription products after a consultation. And the first thing they would always say is it going to make me dark? And it's always, we find that I always sort of go through what they're using at home, because I find in terms of switching products, if you are using a lightening product for 10 years and you stop it, you're going to get dark. So there are things we notice in terms of, and people would come and say, I'm using this product. And what I notice now is products don't tell you the ingredients. So I always say to my clients, I can see your skin, the complaints you're coming in with, and I can probably tell you what you're on. So products I'm giving you are not going to make you dark. There's certain things we know cause pigmentation, but they always sort of want to fix the problem, but want to go back on their creams. So they do know the problems they're dealing with, but I'd always get, this is going to make me dark. So I just sort of got, I'm really happy Dr. May is doing this as well, because I actually got overwhelmed in terms of like, I just can't be bothered. What do you want exactly now? So I do get that a lot. So I'd say, no, it's not going to make you dark. But we find when we eventually take them off the products that are damaging the skin, we usually get something called a rebound pigmentation, which lets us know they're probably on strong lightening creams. So I get that a lot. And then people actually coming and say, like she said, I want to be 3 shades lighter. And I was putting in more effort into the early stages in terms of like, why do you want to do this? These products will harm your skin. We can definitely give you things like arbutin, kojic acid at smaller doses. It's not really going to take you 3 shades lighter, but I'm always for health, because I'm a doctor. I'm not going to give you something that's going to damage your skin. They will stop their products eventually, get to a stage where we've sort of treated the skin, it's not as irritated, and then they'll come and say, can I go back on my product? So it definitely is a bit frustrating. I had a case of an 18-year-old girl who would come really far from a university to see me, and she came in with sort of stretch marks, thinning skin, sort of you can just tell she'd been using some creams, and obviously at that age she probably can't afford the more expensive lightening products, so using really cheap things, and she was so intent on getting lighter. So I'm not really sure where it stemmed from or what we can do, but at this point I definitely do feel that the belief that lighter skin is beautiful is so ingrained in our society that it is definitely a bit overwhelming for me. And then some people would say, how come you're dark skinned, or how come you're not using your products on yourself? So I don't know, it's tough. It has been tough.
Do you think that maybe, for example, we have a comment here from a Yemisi who says, in some cases it's not about beauty, it's about benefits. It's about getting job opportunities. How do we address this?
I personally haven't felt that anyone has turned me down because of my skin tone, but maybe I just wasn't in that headspace. On Instagram, there are many products and they're all using beauty lines. They're using light-skinned people to push their brands. Many things to do with beauty are using light-skinned people. So I haven't personally had experience in terms of, I wouldn't know, maybe they're just sending me away. I'm not really sure. But I think there must be something there they feel they're benefiting from, in terms of, we hear some guys would ask particularly for, they say, I like light-skinned girls only. I do think some jobs are they're probably looking for light-skinned people. So I do think there's a reason that the darker skinned people are feeling that the lighter skinned counterparts are getting more benefits. I have a friend who mentioned she's the only dark skin in her family of girls, about 5 girls. And she grew up with family members saying, oh, why are you dark? You know, your sisters are looking prettier. So I think, you know, these things definitely affect people's psyches. And yeah, I think, you know, if you're dark, they can get jobs as well.
Definitely, of course. And I just want to ask Lavette, who is quietly patient all the way from Sweden. Lavette, you mentioned in the past that you actually started bleaching because of family pressure. Can you share with us your own journey in bleaching your skin and how you got to the point you are now?
Now, my story is quite unique because I was born and raised in Gambia, West Africa. I was raised amongst Black women, and I was raised amongst being affirmed in my Blackness in my immediate surrounding. When I turned 11, I moved to Sweden. Suddenly, my background was ripped from me, and I didn't see as many dark-skinned people. I didn't see them in magazines or TV or being represented in a non-stereotypical way. So with starting school and being made the butt of every joke, being called the N-word, fighting every day to basically exist in my black body, there came a period of time where all of that attacks that were happening went deeper than I expected. And I believe a family member once made a joke that for them is offhanded. And they were people that were bleaching at the time. That, you know, I'm so dark that if I ever got raped, the rapist would be mortified by how dark my private area was, which is a horrible thing to say to a child. And I say this because despite loving that family member, that was what spiraled me into lightening my skin, bleaching my skin using steroids, hydroquinone. And in doing so, you realize how people act differently towards you, how people approach you differently than when you were dark skinned, from black men to media in general, to being able to join beauty pageants and being accepted. But as I turned about 19, 20, I moved to England. Representation changed again. There were more black women there who affirmed my blackness. I saw black women being in offices, black women being in politics, black women being models and actresses. And that spiraled another thought process in my head where I'm going to university, I'm educating myself. By educating myself, I'm opening other doors and finding out the dangers of using steroid creams and hydroquinone and kojic acid on your face and on your skin. My skin was reacting to that. I was getting stretch marks on areas that wouldn't necessarily have had stretch marks. My skin was becoming thin, and I was no longer feeling secure in myself, because with skin bleaching, once you start, you have to maintain it day and night. You need to apply these creams to your face, to your legs, to your back, to your front, every part of your body. And as we know, skin thickness is very different on different parts of the body. That's why you get some women having really dark knuckles, really dark elbows, really dark knees, because those parts of your body are darker. And I started being ashamed of that, because I was thinking, here you have an intelligent young black woman going to university, getting good grades, doing something with my life, and I'm still buying into these lies that for me to be intelligent, to be successful, to be a good human being, I have to adapt and assimilate into a certain beauty ideal. So I remember calling my mom and basically telling her, and she's such a wise woman, and saying, I'm not doing this anymore. I am from Africa. We have shea butter, we have coconut oil, we have jojoba oil, argan oil. Those are things that when you're born, you're being used on your body. Why am I doing this and buying into Procter & Gamble, Unilever, L'Oreal? These are giants that are basically earning $4.8 billion in 2017. We are forecasting that they will make $8.9 billion in 2027. And they're making this money based on white norms and colonization in thinking. 41% of Chinese women use skin lightening products. 61% in India use skin lightening, and in Nigeria, 77% of all women use skin bleaching products. And it always makes me think, when are we going to stop buying these lies? Because I come from different tribes. I am Nigerian, I am Gambian, I am Sierra Leonean, and I'm Ivorian, from both sides of my family. My mother is the Fulani tribe. They're very naturally light skinned. And then you have the Aku, who are really dark skinned. So suddenly I realized, whilst I'm bleaching my skin to be lighter, I'm distancing myself from everything that makes me who I am. It's distancing me from my ancestors who lived and thrived and died for me to be here today. Every day I look in the mirror, I'm lighter than. But am I better than? Am I happier than? Is my life getting better because of it? And the answer was no. Everything I've achieved in my life has been based on hard work and who I am, not what my skin is. And that's what I work today to help women who find their way to my doorstep asking for help.
Lavette, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Where are you getting the figures? I mean, they're quite astonishing. You've said about 70% of women in Nigeria bleach.
Yeah.
Could you Could you just expound on that in terms of like the data?
The data is coming from research that has been done and research that I have taken part of since I wrote Europe's first makeup book for Black women and men and non-gender binaries. So this is based on studies, and I'm happy to post on my Instagram or email it to you, every single source. But that is what they're saying, that 77% of women in Nigeria purchase products with skin lightening effects and skin bleaching effects. It could be kojic acid, you could call it lightening, you could call it bleaching, but the effects are basically the same. And there's an even larger underbelly of that industry of women who mix these products for other women. So this is information that has been on Sky News. They have reported on it. They have even traveled to Nigeria to speak to these women that sell these products and who use these products to gain perspective.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Lavette. It's interesting that as you're speaking, Bianca is giving us props. She says she loves the discussion. And I just want to ask those that are watching, give us hearts. Make sure you share it on your page. Let people repost it. Let people join the conversation. And now I'm going to actually start reading some of the comments and the questions that people are saying. So for example, here we have from Oibo. Oibo 0172 says the cosmetic industry is to blame. They tell us that white is pretty. Another comment from David. David says, today we are regaining control of our images. Keep the conversation going. Talking helps, encourages us all. And I want to ask you, Dr. May, similar to what Lavette is saying and the facts that she's laid down and her amazing journey, her amazing story, why do you think that women, despite the ramifications and how it's harmful, why do you think that there still is this desire to still be fair?
The thing is, for me, I think it's psychological. It's not just about bleaching. It's also addictive. We can't erase the fact that once some people start, they can't really stop. And that's the reason why, just like Dr. Rappo mentioned, even after they've gone through the journey of curing themselves or treating their skin, they still want to go back. It's really addictive, and we should not undermine the addiction to bleaching. We can't undermine it, because some people, and I've seen some people within my family as well, where it's gotten so bad, yet they are looking for the next best thing. And that's the reason why you keep seeing all these new skincare companies coming up, cottage skincare company, people making skincare at the back of their house, their kitchen, and selling it to anybody who cares to buy. And they call it all sorts of names that are quite degrading for Black women. Egyptian queen, they call it like half caste, which is politically incorrect. Call it half caste cream, they call them, and then the word whitening itself. I'm really interested to hear what Dr. Rappo has to say about the word whitening. Is it scientific? Why do we use that word whitening? Caucasians, the tan, they don't call it blackening. Would anyone buy a product that says blackening? But no one says that, because that's not the standard of beauty. But we keep using the word whitening. I can live with lightening, I can live with brightening, but whitening, I keep asking myself, what is it scientific? Is it, should we always say that? Are we by law bound to use the word whitening? So that is one thing. And so someone says that they blame the beauty industry. The truth is that people give us what we want. Some people say it's business. You know, it's funny, but when you go to like places like Aspanda Trade Fair, where we have where basically that is where you get the cabals of skincare. And guess what? The cabals, when I say the cabals, I mean the people who make the money in the skincare industry in Nigeria are men. And they're dark-skinned men. But I've gone to the market, I've asked them, because when you go to the market, 90% of the products you see are whitening skin, whitening creams. And it kind of make you really cry, because when you go to other like supermarkets, you don't see that much. You see some whitening creams, but when you go in the open market, you really see how far we've come. You know, like Lovett said, 70% of Nigerian women patronize buy bleaching cream. And that figure comes from WHO. And WHO wouldn't lie about that because it's research showing that we Nigerian women are the highest consumers of bleaching cream. When I saw it the first time, I thought it was a lie. I thought, no, it must be Asia. It must be, but no, it's Nigeria. And that's quite shameful for us as Nigerian women, you know, but we need to help our girls. We need to help our women because there's something, it's beyond beauty for us now. It's now going deeper into the way we see our lives. Some women are even bleaching their children's skin, which to me is child abuse because you're actually damaging the child's skin before they're mature. You know, then you see mothers telling their daughters, you're too dark. All this thing reinforces to a young girl who you are telling, be confident, be you. But then you're telling her she's dark. What can she do about her dark skin? And then she goes out some days with her friends who are light-skinned and herself, and they tell her, oh, let's get the light-skinned girl first. She has more preference and all that. Now, this is not to say that light-skinned girls get everything. We can't say that. That's not true. But we cannot undermine what some dark-skinned girls go through. I started a campaign called My Color, My Heritage because of all the complaints and all the requests I get from my customers. And I thought, no, we need to let people know that they're beautiful. And My Color, My Heritage was not just about dark-skinned girls. It was about anybody from any race to embrace yourself. Because every race has different issues. And there was 10 years ago in England, it was tanning beds. Everybody, 15-year-olds were tanning 14-year-olds. At some point, they had to create a policy to actually safeguard young people who do not know better going to tanning beds and actually damaging their skin. You know, just a month ago, it was really hot in the UK and it was all over the news and they said, everyone use your sunscreen, protect yourself, all of this. How do our country or our own people make that important? Can you imagine a government telling its people, make sure you protect your skin from the sun?
Abby?
That is not, I mean, the sun is something nobody can do anything about. But here we are in our stores, in our houses, in our homes. We have mercury, we have hydroquinone, and it's all there. And I went to the market the other day because I teach skincare and how to make skincare. And I thought maybe I should go to the market somewhere in Orile to find out where some of my students can get like skincare ingredients. And when I asked for so many things and found out what they had, and the lady asked me, oh, you didn't ask me about hydroquinone. I said, does that still exist? She said, if that is the highest selling skincare ingredients we sell here. I was like, no way. And she said to me, it's so expensive. And she told me, look at these girls now. They're coming here, they're going to buy this, and they're going to make this, and they're going to post it on Instagram and going to sell it. And I thought, people should know. When you see anything that tells you 2 shades lighter in 2 days, in 7 days, you're using hydroquinone.
I see that do you have a comment, Lavette?
I do. Whilst we're mentioning SPF, I just want to make that clear that there is no dermatologist who will tell any woman of any race, of any color, to not use SPF. That is part of protecting ourselves from the sun. It doesn't stop you from being darker though. So I encourage everybody to go in and use at least SPF 50 to protect their skin, especially if you are an ex-bleacher. Your skin is no longer formulated to break down vitamin D and sunshine as effectively. I myself burn within half an hour of being in the sun. So I do have to mention that that is one of a surefire way of protecting your skin, because once upon a time, our melanin used to protect us from the harmful rays of the sun. Nowadays, it's not enough because the darkest skin melanin, let's say Lupita, is 13.4% SPF protection, which means you need a basic 30 to protect your skin. So that's something I do advise every person, no matter your age, especially your children. Melanin is not immunity from skin cancer or from melanoma or from anything. SPF is a must, not so you don't get darker, because you will anyway, but to protect your skin. So I think that is a very smart thing for people to have in mind, even us in the continent of Africa, definitely.
Thank you so much for that comment, Lavette. I have a comment also from Africa Whole. Africa Whole says, Africans have internalized beauty standards. We can't just blame the media. Many prominent African women sell and endorse lightening products. I want to ask you, Dr. Rapu, similar to what Dr. May had also said about the harmful effects, can you just explain to us what exactly is the ingredients that people need to look out for in bleaching cream products?
So like Dr. May said, hydroquinone is currently the most common in terms of lightening agent. But then you find a lot of the creams have not gone through cosmetic regulation. And we do know most creams have combined hydroquinone, mercury, corticosteroids. Mercury has been found to be toxic in terms of liver damage, kidney damage, brain damage, harm to unborn babies if a pregnant person is using it. And most of these products ingredients have actually been banned in a lot of countries in Europe. Also because of they've been known to increase the risk of skin cancer. I do think because there's no standardized formulations, there hasn't been sort of sufficient research and follow-up. And although these products have been banned, they're still being used. So we know that most of the creams have very high doses of hydroquinone. So typically you can get it on prescription in terms of a doctor is seeing you and treating you for hyperpigmentation. But then you have people at like 2%. You have people mixing creams with hydroquinone up to 8% and giving them away. Hydroquinone in terms of health effects, it's usually what they mix it with, but hydroquinone itself has been linked to a condition called ochronosis, where you actually have a darkening in the skin that is very difficult to treat after years of prolonged use. Then we know hydroquinone is a skin irritant, so people can get rashes, skin irritation. The corticosteroids, a steroid is an ingredient that calms the body from sort of reacting. So they've put them in a lot of the creams to calm down the effect of hydroquinone on the skin, to allow them to use sort of higher doses of hydroquinone in the products without the person sort of getting reactions. We know that the steroids act like a particular hormone in our bodies called cortisol, which is a stress hormone. So as you're putting the products onto your skin, your body's absorbing it and acting like a hormone. So it's actually affecting your entire body. And those have been linked with sort of diabetes, high blood pressure. And then steroids, in terms of, I think the most common side effects I'm seeing are stretch marks, green veins. Steroids thin the skin. So I always explain to people, if your skin is supposed to be this thick and you're thinning it out, anything you do, the skin is going to tear, and that's what causes a stretch mark. If the skin is thin, veins that we all have are suddenly closer to the surface. So these are really, so I can tell when we see these things, we can tell what is in the products. Mercury has been banned because that has been found to be toxic. So it's been found that the skin sort of starts to accumulate mercury, and these things go into your blood and can affect. But obviously we're still getting, and then one thing I've noticed is the cosmetic brands don't actually tell you the ingredients, which is a bit like fake advertising, because they're all using natural, organic. But then how come all the organic lines happen to have light-skinned people as their advertising muses? So these are really the main things in terms of side effects that we're seeing with a lot of the bleaching creams. And it has been found actually in terms of skin cancer. Melanin is a pigment that your body produces to protect you from the sun. So we know people who have higher melanin content are not as an increased risk of skin cancer. And obviously we're in a country where the sun there's a reason to protect us. So our bodies know what they're doing in terms of producing melanin to absorb the sun's rays. So using all these products to sort of break down the melanin in your skin, obviously you're making yourself more susceptible to damage from the sun's rays, which I always tell people with premature aging, skin cancer. So they have actually found a few cases of skin cancer in women using bleaching creams. And that's actually the main reason they have banned hydroquinone in a lot of countries. So really, these things as well come with regulation if they are being prescribed. You shouldn't use hydroquinone for more than 4 to 6 months. Hydroquinone makes the skin more sensitive to the sun, so it shouldn't be used in the morning. So there's also the misuse of these products that now make them start getting the funny reactions we get these days.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ruff. It's so crazy that with all these harmful side effects, the demand is still there, and is high demand for these things. I have a question from C. Williams SCS, and he says, what about actresses who are cast with bleached skin? Doesn't that have an effect on young TV watchers? And this also touches upon the issue of colorism, which it's a bit separate from bleaching cream, and it's probably, I guess, the origin in a sense why people decide to bleach. And I just want to know from all of you guys, and I'll start from Lavette in Sweden. What is your take on colorism, and how can we stop this preferential treatment?
I think
if you can explain it to the viewers.
Yeah, well, colorism is obviously the preference for lighter skin and having the privileges that come with having lighter skin, whether naturally or having it being bleached. It means that colorism is sort of racism internally between different colors. You have it in many different cultures. India, anti-blackness against people who are darker or in a certain caste system. You have it in many places in Africa and even in America, where you look down upon darker women of darker skin tones and uplift those with lighter skin tones. And I think with everything, it starts with educating ourselves. We are very happy to talk to white people about white privilege, but we don't talk to light-skinned girls about, light-skin privilege. The fact that, there are certain positions that will be better suited for a competent person of a certain darker skin tone when we actually hire somebody who is lighter. There's a certain privilege that lies there, and there's an unwillingness to discuss that, both from people with lighter skin tones and to accept what darker skin tone people are saying, just as white people generally cast away the notion and the conversation around white privilege. So with everything, it starts with educating yourselves. It's like we can talk about white norm because, Western society has basically given us a smoking gun and we're now pointing it against each other and using it. It's about finding out information, educating yourself, but also educating those in your nearest vicinity, your parents, your friends, your workmates. That's where that conversation needs to happen, because it doesn't seem to work well when it goes on a public forum. We have to be able to discuss these things amongst ourselves, because it's an issue that didn't start with us, but it's affecting us the hardest right now.
Thank you so much, Lavette. And for just to kind of recap what she says that it's important for us to start with education. So, for example, I am a fair-skinned woman, and I understand that there are certain ways in which people will treat you because you are fair-skinned. I've had men approach me and say, "Hi, I like your complexion." That to me is a turn off, and I walk away because I feel like that should not be the first thing that you notice when you speak to me. I think it's important for us to speak to younger girls. A lot of people are making comments in stars and hearts saying that young girls, we need to talk to them now to let them know that they are beautiful and that they are desirable. Another person had a comment saying, what is the difference actually between light-skinned and colorism? I mean, we've kind of touched upon that, but that's from Just Moti. I just want to know from you, Dr. May, and also from you, Dr. Uju, what has been your experience? And I want us to get personal now because it's girl talk. What has been your experience in terms of dealing with colorism, in your own way, whether it's your complexion, whether it's your features? How did you get to this point of confidence? So I admire you guys. I'm a groupie. So I'm sure that there are other groupies who are on this live, as well as I admire the beauty and confidence of Lavette as well. So I just would like if you guys could just talk about your own journey and how you got to this point of loving yourself. I'll start with you.
Yeah, for me, I've always been a very confident and assertive person, and as a kid, and obviously there's been pressures from friends to even to change my skin color to look a certain way. But I think that this is where my stubbornness becomes quite useful for me, because I'm a very stubborn person. I always want to have things my own way. And doesn't mean that I don't have pressures. I do have pressures. But I just always believe that my personality should speak more for me. And that has actually led me to the kind of things I do, my career. I've been a career-minded person. I've always believed that what I do as a woman should define me and not really how I look. And so I find it offensive when even men look at me or women see me and they talk about my looks first. I don't mind, but I don't think it should basically define who I am. So I try to, and I know, but when I was a young girl, or when I was a girl, I had people I looked up to, but I didn't look up to them because of beauty. I looked up to them because of their strength as women. And as an older person right now, I feel like young girls need that role model. They need guidance, because when you are a kid or as a teenager, you think you know it all, and what you lack is you lack experience, you lack knowledge. And I think it's our duty as women who are, I wouldn't say I'm in the limelight, but at least I'm out there, and some of us, and also the media, to start to encourage young girls to see themselves and love themselves. It's actually beyond beauty. It's actually beyond the outward beauty. It's actually how we see ourselves as girls. And this was what led me to starting up an organization called Raising Girls. And for me, it was really about actually changing the ideology of how girls see themselves, because really and truly that is the genesis of colorism, where even though we're all Black women, or we're all from the same race, we still see ourselves differently, and there is this hierarchy based on our skin color. And I would also say that in Nigeria, we're a little bit lucky, because whilst in some countries, when you go to Jamaica, when I was in Jamaica, I remember someone saying to me, looking at me a certain way, and I asked my friend why they were looking at me because of where I was. And she said, that's because you're dark skinned. They don't expect that you should be in this place. Because where I was really like, the creme de la creme, and I thought, no, what's this Jamaican dark skinned girl doing here? So I started to realize that in Nigeria, we actually kind of have it better. Even though we have these issues of colorism amongst us, we still appreciate our dark-skinned girls. And I just think we should do more of it now. So, yeah.
I just want to make a quick comment, a shout out to Love's Lost. She says, I'm so happy to be a part of this conversation. It's a privilege to hear from three intelligent, beautiful women talking deeply. So thank you so much for that. I just want to now go to you, Dr. Rapu. Someone actually asked a question about skincare for dark-skinned women. This is Bianca, and she says, what kind of products can dark-skinned women use that are actually natural? And you can also talk about the colorism, but I want to make sure I answer their question.
Okay.
They mentioned shea butter and coconut oil.
The main sort of concern people tend to come into the clinic with is hyperpigmentation. So that is when certain areas of the skin are, excuse me, are darker than other areas. So the main cause is really the sun's rays. So the sun tries to darken us in certain areas. So I find in terms of skincare, the most important thing to be on is a sunscreen. So most people's complaint is my face is darker than my body. So everyone should be on a sunscreen. And then in terms of that glow everybody tends to want, you can get it as a dark skin person as well. We just find that we need to keep exfoliating the skin. So over time, your skin naturally forms dead cells, which are sort of piling up on the skin and making the skin look dull, textured. Your makeup isn't sitting properly. So any dark skin person that comes in, I say the most important thing to be on: morning time, wash and a sunscreen. Evening time, wash and some sort of exfoliating product, sort of 2 to 3 times a week. And then in terms of aging, keeping the skin healthy, products with hyaluronic acid, vitamin C. So these don't lighten you, but they are affecting the health of the skin, basically.
Thank you so much for that comment. So we know that this conversation will never end today. I mean, the truth of the matter is colorism, beauty standards, bleaching cream, all these types of expectations are things that will not end with our 45-minute girl talk session. It's something that we hope that by doing this, that we can continue the conversation and keep it moving forward. So I would like to just ask if each one of you can just give a brief comment to just kind of wrap up what are tips and suggestions that you can give to viewers? People, they've taken out the time, they've dialed in, they're watching, and maybe they do want to know how they can talk to their daughter, how can they talk to their niece, how can they talk to the neighbor, how can they prevent an experience, as Lavette said, you know, it was a family member who actually pressured her in a sense or influenced her decision to bleach because of some of those harmful comments that in our communities we think are okay. Don't go out in the sun, you're going to get too dark. You know, one person mentioned that it's even about men. Said they pay more dowry if you are fairer skinned. So this is a very deep conversation. I know that right now we're just chatting, but what are some of the tips that you guys can give to people so that they know that they are equipped to continue this conversation going? And I'll start with you, Dr. May. I'll go to you, Dr. Uju, and then I'll wrap up with Lavette in Sweden. Thanks so much.
I would say that we should positively promote Black women, dark-skinned women, light-skinned women, just Black women in general. We should try to instill confidence in our girls, make them realize that they're actually beautiful the way they are. Black is beautiful, and we should always remember that. If someone had told us 10 years ago that Black girls, dark-skinned or Black girls would carry their natural hair, we wouldn't believe it, but they did, and that's just dead cell. If we can do that with our hair, that is just dead cell. How much more our skin, which is the largest organ of the body that actually protects you. So let's really embrace ourselves. Let's love ourselves. Actually, it starts with all of us. It starts from us loving who we are and how we've been created, to appreciate ourselves and basically give our skin and our body all that it needs. And that includes taking care of who you are, giving positive reinforcement to young girls, telling them they're beautiful. We shouldn't use words like, you're too pretty for a dark-skinned girl, you're too dark, you're too this. Let us tell people, Black is beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think positive affirmations, so positively affirming young girls, because I feel with me growing up, I always had dark people around. It was never really an issue for me until I actually got into pretty, not saying you're prettier than this person. And for me, growing up was about, oh, I'm pretty, I'm looking cute. It was never about, I'm pretty because I'm dark, I'm pretty because I'm light skinned. So to be very honest, this whole colorism thing only sort of came to the forefront for me when I got into this industry. And I think it's important for people to be aware of the impact of social media on them. A lot of the women that are being used to advertise these products, there's filters, they've edited the photos, they're not showing their knuckles and what the skin looks like. So to be conscious of sort of what we're letting into our minds, we're letting into our daughters and the young girls' minds, and positively affirm everyone, just not to talk about skin tone, but you look good, you're pretty, and I think that helps with sort of confidence.
Thank you so much. And Lavette, can you tell us, what is your opinion? You can just give us a brief comment.
Yeah, I agree with both ladies who have already said a lot of it. I think it's also important to be careful about what you consume, because you have a lot of power yourself. If you have children, buy children's books with Black characters that reflect their reality. Teach them to love themselves, remind them every single day. If you're a teenager, make sure you're following people on Instagram, on social media, which you have control over, who are Black like you, who are successful like you, but who reflect your reality. Read. Find out about your African ancestry. Figure out that a lot of what we're being told right now, there's not much reality in it, because a lot of it was already born on our continent, you know, from makeup to hair to extension to skincare. Everything has been within us all this time. So let's stop using weapons against each other and just cut off anything in our lives that doesn't bring us peace and doesn't affirm us. I think that is very important to remind people they have more power than they think.
Thank you so much, Lavette, for that beautiful comment. And Dawn Marie 19 says, Black is beautiful. And Dawn, You are 100% right. Black is beautiful. It doesn't matter the complexion that you are. You can be fair skinned, you can be darker skinned. Your black is beautiful. And this is an acknowledgement of who we are as African women, as women of the diaspora. We are beautiful. There is black girl magic. And remember that no matter what anyone tells you. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope that we will join with you another time for Thank you guys so much.